Hello, my name is Aviv. I'm 27 years old and I live in Haifa, Israel.
I'm Amit. I'm 29 years old and I live in Haifa in the north of Israel.
Hi, my name is Elisha. I'm 30 years old and I live in Haifa together with my boyfriend for the past 9 years.
Hi, my name is Nadav. I live in Haifa in Israel and I work in a school and I'm studying education.
I study informal education and I learn to be a professional massager.
I study informal education with my peers in HaShomer HaTzair movement, and I work in a school, the same one that Nadav works in.
In our organization, my part is to be in charge of the salaries and the book.
I really enjoy music. I play guitar. I also teach guitar in the school.
My role in the movement is to be in charge of the activity of the movement in 5 different kibbutzim, 5 different villages in a regional council in northern Israel called Megiddo. And I'm also a part of the team that runs our community budget that's supposed to answer the needs of 74 people within the adult movement.
I love nature and wildlife.
I teach their carpentry and I do household work, and that's things I like to do in my free time as well. Doing woodwork and going kayaking in the sea.
Our movement was first established in 1913, just before the First World War, as Jews were not allowed into the Polish Scouts anymore, and they established a new movement. A movement for scouting only for Jewish people. It then became the first Zionist youth movement in the world and later became the biggest Jewish movement in Poland. A few years after the movement was established in Europe, in the beginning of the 1920s, the first graduates of the movement finished their high school years and finished their years in the youth movement. And then they asked themselves, how are they going to fulfill the values and beliefs of the movement in their grown-up lives? And then, in the mid-1920s, the first graduates of HaShomer HaTzair established a network of small communities all around Israel, living in villages, and building shared communities with a socialist economy, and creating a network of grown-ups, of graduates of HaShomer HaTzair all around Israel. In the mid-1980s, about 60 years later, there was a very big economical crisis in Israel, and many of these communities got into really bad financial problems. A lot of these villages collapsed, and a lot of them just became normal villages, neglecting the ideology on which they were built. In 2001, again, these graduates of HaShomer HaTzair looked for a way to fulfill and live their values in their grown-up lives. And then we re-established this network of communities, but now not in villages, but within the towns and cities of Israel. And now the adult movement is the new network of communities living the movement's values in the grown-up lives of about 300 members.
HaShomer HaTzair is a very ideological movement. It stands for making the world a fair and just place. We, as members of HaShomer HaTzair, believe in socialism, in equality, in making peace with our neighbors, in freeing the spirits of human beings, making people feel freer and better in their lives, and understanding the values we have is crucial to understand our lives, because we live by the values we stand for.
Our community studies together in college. We're all studying education. Some of us want to be teachers and some of us want to work in informal education centers. Our program is a very unique program. We basically choose our own curriculum in a very democratic way. We choose to study the topics that we think are most relevant to be educators in our society. We do everything in a very democratic way, and we even support each other in the funding of our own studies.
Our organization is spread all over Israel, and we live in several different cities and villages. In each of those places lives between 20 and 50 people in commons. Most of us work in informal education frameworks. Each year, around spring, We ask as an organization which new missions we can develop to promote our educational agenda. That process takes a few months, and we choose to take the responsibility over it together as communities and as a movement.